Okay, and the clap for the Amy. We are here. No, actually, we are not here.
Just take it away from him. Under 4 left. The barn is alive again.
Yeah, it's a sports show. Got me in my hormones. All gas, no brakes. Score 4-0. If you think you own this place, you get foreclosed. I've been in my head, but it's
By myself again. I know. Seems like someone's working hard around here. Seems like someone's putting in the man hours, the quality time, the sweat equity, whatever it is that you want to say. No, I'm here by myself. My partner, Mitch, is on holidays. We will get to that. First and foremost, you're listening to the sports show. That is at the Sports Show Podcast. That's on the Instagram, on the YouTube channel. If you look up the Sports Show TV, you'll find the blue and white logo. That's ours. Please subscribe to the channel. You get all the video content. It's a lot funner. See, it's funny. Mitch loves listening to it. I love listening to it, but I love seeing it too because we get to see our mannerisms. I think it adds to it. But nonetheless, Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, CGSW 90.9 FM on the third Tuesday now of every month for all you radio CGSW listeners. But let's get into a couple things. So yeah, I'm solo. I'm gonna be solo for the next month here. Mitch is off to Greece. He's off to the homeland. With him and his family. They're going to have a great time. I mean, if you go to Greece and you can't have a good time, you're the problem. I'll tell you that right now. There's many places in the world that are like that, but you are the problem. I hate to say it. So, no, hopefully they have a good time. Mitch, I'm going to hold down the fort. I got it on lockdown. If you remember, last time Mitch was gone for a weekend, he actually set the agenda and I put it in an envelope. But this time, I can't do that. Can't ask a guy to work when he's overseas with the family. That's work enough, just traveling with the family. And so I have to put the agenda together. And I got to tell you, it's kind of easy. And I sit here and I say, I'm like, I put in so much work on the back end, social media, uploading this and that. And for a while, I'm like, oh, well, Mitch puts the agenda together. I put this thing together in 5 minutes. Not even. So I gotta say, what does this guy do in a week? We're gonna have some serious discussions when he comes back. That is for sure. But Roster, I gotta share something with you. I'm kidding, Mitch. Have a good time. He does a lot. Roster, I gotta share something funny that happened to you, and it's gonna tie in, especially with MAGA MALAKA at the end. So I'm building a shed at the house, okay? Really quick. Building a shed at the house. I got the location, everything. I want to put things into perspective. I back onto a field. The field backyard's my oyster, okay? Anyways, I'm halfway putting it. Day one, I'm digging earth. I'm moving gravel. I'm digging sod. I'm tamping. I'm measuring. I'm loading 4x4s and 2x10x8s. I mean, it's a whole thing. I'm trying to get the base right. Well, lo and behold, my crusty old neighbor comes by, who I thought was a wonderful lady. I thought she was a wonderful lady. And you know what? I still think that. That's where I'm driving. That's where I'm on the high road. Well, lo and behold, this lady comes over. She goes, Dimitri, I'm not happy. I go, why? She goes, well, you're blocking my view. So at first, I got to be honest, Ross, I'm a little dejected by this. I'm like, I don't want to do that to somebody. I don't want to go ahead and be that person. Well, anyways, it kept going for about 10 minutes. And if there's one thing, I was saying to Mitch, if there's one thing I can't stand is whining and pouting. Like, just let it go. Like, especially the like, I hate that. It's a trigger for me. It's a trigger. Some people have trigger words. I have trigger emotions. I'm emotionally triggered. Anyhow, after a solid 10 minutes, which is a long time of complaining, I finally snapped. And I said, I'm like, this woman has the gall. So picture this. She has blocked off her entire backyard with trees and bushes to block her view, to have privacy. She's blocked her own view. And she's complaining that I put my shed because it was blocking her view. Well, guess what? The view was through my yard. Can you believe this? I thought it was going crazy. Anyways, I'm bringing this up because what I want you to do is I want you to chime in. And I want to know if you've had problems with your neighbor like that or dealt with someone completely irrational. And I'm not talking like Mitch or mine's opinion on sports, which sometimes can be a little irrational. We get it. The reality is I need to know this. So slide into the DMs at Sports Show Podcast. Tell me, have you ever had a crusty neighbor? Have you ever had to deal with something like that? I need to know. Okay, let's get into sports. I'm going to have a sip of coffee here. We're going to get right into sports. We got a few things coming up today. We're going to talk a little bit of boxing. I'm going to do a nice little quick hit on it. We're going to go right into the NHL. We got a couple maneuvers there. We got to ride through the asteroid belt in the NHL. I'm going to do a little bit NBA, and then, of course, we're going to land the plane nicely, okay? Okay, here we go. Here's what I got. Quick hit boxing. All you boxing fans out there, all you non-boxing fans out there, if you're looking to get a fight that is the next installment that picks up where it left off between a Mayweather and Pacquiao, look no further than July 29th when Terrence Crawford is going to take on Errol Spence Jr. in a much anticipated, undisputed, pound-for-pound generational fight. I'm not even kidding. This is post-Mayweather era and Canelo to a degree. This fight, if you're going to watch one, if you're going to see one because you want to see who are the top of the top in the division in the world, this is it right now next to the heavyweights. Big fight. Again, Mitch doesn't like it when I go through the full technical analysis, and I won't. And if I do, maybe we'll do it closer to the fight when at least he's here. I'm going to be definitely doing the fight night for this one, and I don't care if I'm sick or not. If I'm sick, fight night is happening. You can come to the house. But I actually don't know who's going to win this fight. That's how even it is. That's how incredibly even it is. It's a big fight. It's good for boxing. Boxing right now has the world at its feet. I mean, if you look at it, they've just gone through Tank Garcia. They're about to do Spence and Crawford. And they're talking about in December doing an incredible mega fight in Saudi Arabia, which we're going to get to that, by the way, soon, in Saudi Arabia, where they want to match all four heavyweights in one big title card fight. So getting Deontay Wilder versus Joshua and Usyk versus Fury. So boxing, this is your chance. You've always been on the map. But you've always been when the UFC came and really started to push its weight around, you took a back seat. It wasn't as glorious anymore. And especially in a weird lull after the Mayweather era and he dissipated from the sport, there really hasn't been much and people don't know much about it. But this, and I got to say, I'm missing another big one. Jake Paul, Nate Diaz. I don't care what anyone says. This is a premier year for boxing that if done right, can put you right back on the map where the UFC is struggling to get popularity. Their only shot is a Conor McGregor. But if he loses, I'm telling you, you don't want to kick a horse while they're down, but you do. But you really, really do. So anyways, that's what I got for boxing. I'm a big boxing fan. Just letting the roster know, July 29th, if I were you either come to my house or you get the pay-per-view. Okay. Let's move on. Let's move on to the the cluster fudge that is the NHL right now. Because what do we have going on? We have the Stanley Cup Finals about to begin tonight. I'm recording on the Saturday, so day one tonight. About to begin tonight. But then on top of that, you got movement. We're not even at the trade deadline. The Cup's not even over. And we got movement. Listen, Cup final, honey, sugar, baby. Take a back seat for a sec because I need to get on top of this right now. You have the NHL general manager situation at the forefront of all the news, and justifiably so. It should be at the forefront of all the news because it's amazing what's happening. What has happened? Dubas, hey, Toronto, Dubas, you're out. We've had enough. No, get out. You didn't see you're being set up on 3 machines. You didn't see you're being set up on the 3rd machine. I want you out. That one's for my partner. So what does he do? He goes, fine, you want me out? No problem. No problem. I don't need to be here. I'll just go to the 3-time Stanley Cup champions, and I'll just be the president of hockey operations. How about that, Shanahan? Huh? You smart ass? You want to play ball? Fine. I could go be a hockey ops president somewhere else. I could do that job too. You want to call the shots and be mad. Dubas, you know what? If there was a MAGA of the week, or the Monday morning MAGA, or something that we could dub, you got it. You got it. And you know what, Toronto? I got to tell you, I don't care what anyone says. I think you messed up. I think this was a little short-sighted. I'm going to get to that point after, but I think it was a little short-sighted what you did. But you know what? Pittsburgh just cleaned house, and I love that the Penguins took the opportunity and said, "Oh, we're about to get rid." They're not going to get rid. They might get rid of one, but they're about to part ways with the current regime. They're all getting that much older. They're closer to retirement. They're all nearing 40. They really have one swan song, and that's about it before they their swan song. And so, perfect. Get the young guy in there. Get a young guy in there who's got some good reps under his belt, has been in a major organization. And yes, let's go. Let's do that. Then on the other side, our guy, Treliving, who, we mutually parted ways. Yeah, sure. Because that's how breakups really work, right? Mutually parted ways. Yeah, honey, we just can't be together. I was kind of thinking that too. No. Someone's clothes were on the driveway. Someone's clothes and suitcases were on the driveway. Someone threw eggs at someone's door. I don't want any of that garbage. It was messy. We just didn't see it. But credit to the organizations for keeping it quiet. Well, where does he end up? Well, we got a nice little vacant seat over here. So the NHL GMs have been playing musical chairs, and I love it. But here's what I love the most. These two guys, to a degree, I think got a little bit of an unfair shake. And I love that they landed right away. I love that they landed with organizations, and I love that they landed with organizations that they can work with. Now we can see what, we'll see what they're about, yes, but I like the fact that they just didn't get dogged and someone's out of a job for 4 or 5 years. So I'm loving this. But I think in Calgary, I have to submit to Mitch. I think Sutter was the problem. And they should have kept the Treliving. And on top of that, I think that the players let down Dubas, and they should have kept Dubas there. But hey, you know what? That's a you problem now. So it brought up this. So we were talking about this at work the other day, and a colleague, we mentioned him by initials like we mostly do, but CD, me and him were talking, and I was on the fence of Toronto. You should keep Dubas. You should do your thing. Stay there. He's young. He went for broke. He did. I mean, he took a chance. I mean, I don't care what anyone says. He took a chance. But then CD brings up a good point. He goes, well, what makes a good GM? He goes, like really? Like, if you look at Treliving, you look at Dubas, you look at all these people, what actually makes a good GM? And his argument is, okay, a good player, yeah, points, defensive plays in general, quality of play. Like, there are tangibles you can look and say, okay, good GM, or a good player, excuse me. But what makes a good GM? And I got to tell you, Roster, I try to defend it until I came to the point that I actually don't know. Is it managing the cap? Is it just the Stanley Cup? Is it movement of players? Yeah, one could argue, yeah, it is all of that, yes. But these GMs and coaches to a degree too, but yeah, maybe coaches is you got to win. Actually, you know what? Coach is fine. You're coaching the team to win. So yes, winning and Stanley Cup and player camaraderie is a tangible marker for them. But on the GM side, I mean, yeah, you can bring in players left, right, and center. Does that make you good? You can screw the cap or be well under the cap and do it. Does that make you good? I don't know. And it's interesting because you sit there and say, when these people get fired or they move on or they keep their jobs, what is their metric? And so when you think of good GMs and people will throw out and say, okay, well, what about a Ken Holland? Okay, yeah, great. Well, what about an Yzerman? Yeah, maybe it is just as simple as winning, but I was really stumped on that, and I'd love to hear your take because I don't know what really makes a good GM, right? It's interesting. That's a lot of dead air. Sorry, I was taking a sip. I got no break in between the talking. Don't get me wrong. I love the talking. I'm just saying. I don't have a break in between it. Okay. Here we go. Let's preview now. I got that out of the way. Stanley Cup Finals happening tonight. You got the Florida Panthers versus the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Two teams, two complete teams, hardworking teams, teams of rolling four lines like you read about. Got some good star power, but a lot of character guys. You know, when we start the playoffs, and I don't say we as in Mitch and I, but all of us, when we start the playoffs, we have our picks. We look at teams. We dissect it. We look at the rosters and so on and so forth, and we make our selections. And not a lot of people would have put Florida Vegas as their final. I can guarantee that, okay? I can guarantee that. But when you look at it, and we're here now, it really makes the most sense, doesn't it? Doesn't it? When you really look at these rosters and the quality of play, it's almost shame on us how we didn't pick a final like this. Yeah, the Las Vegas Golden Knights conference final against the Dallas Stars, no sweat. Like, just no sweat whatsoever. Managed it and played them very, very well. And that's a tough team. That's a very, very tough team. Then you got the Florida Panthers. And say what you want about the Carolina Hurricanes. Yes, they were injured, but that also is a very, very tough team. And I know we joked about it, about them getting swept. I mean, they definitely did, but they played hard. They really played hard. And so here we are in the final. I think the final that makes the most sense. So who do you pick? Which way do you go? Well, the easy way is always to pick. You pick the favorite in 7. That's the cop-out pick. Early prediction. Here's how I dissect it. Looking over everything, I think both teams have had to face adversity. You have the Florida Panthers that had to really win out and rely on other people, i.e. the Penguins, to shoot themselves in the foot to get into the playoffs. Struggling goaltender, guy that's worth $10 million, 10.5, whatever he is there, in Bobrovsky. So they've had to really find their way, and they've really found their way. Of course, some moves like the Kachuk trade and everything going on over there, and just incredible momentum. And then when you get into the playoffs, you got to play the greatest regular season team of all time. And you're down 3-1, and you got to find a way to win. I mean, we're talking some serious uphill battles. And Florida makes their way to the final. Then you have Las Vegas, who's been to the dance before, came up short, and has been in what I call the good team purgatory of you're just good enough to compete, but you're not good enough to win. And year over year, they've really added another and another and another and another. And they really remind me of the previous Stanley Cup champions in the Colorado Avalanche. The difference here is they now had to face some adversity too. You got everything lockstep. Great, perfect, let's do this. Until your goalies get injured. And not only your goalies get injured, the guy that you traded for to be the backup in case there's an injury, that guy's out too. So you got the third stringer, which is incredible. You know, in previous podcasts, actually before the playoffs has started, I definitely did not have Vegas in the Cup final. I believe I had Edmonton, I think, as the X Factor pick from the West. I'd have to go back into the archives. I'm pretty sure that's where I was. But they signed Jonathan Quick, and I said to Mitch on the podcast, I go, that's the type of move that wins you the Cup. Well, it's not Quick, it's Hill. And guess what? If I got to pick a team, I'm picking the Las Vegas Golden Knights to win the Stanley Cup final. Am I confident in it? No, of course not. Is it a 50-50 in my opinion? I think it's a 51-49. I'll give them a little bit of the edge. Okay? Just by that. Rationale as to why they should dominate or win the Cup outside. I just do think that they have tooled that team properly over the years. and it is a really tight unit. But what these two teams have is character. They got the Kachucks on the one side. They got the Stones on the other side. They got some real character pieces, and they also got that supplemental scoring. When you have guys like the Verhaeghes on the one side, the Marchessault's doing his pick on the other. I mean, you really have everyone working. And then people that should be contributing because they're your star players, like the Barkov and the Bobrovskis. And the Ekblads on one side, and on the other you do have the Stones and the Eichels and the Pietrangelos, and a good matchup. I have Vegas winning. I think I'm going to take Vegas in 6 games. I can see Vegas doing a little bit of what they did to Dallas, maybe in a much closer fashion, where they get some quick momentum, get up a couple games. And Florida, again, is just forced to really fight that uphill battle. That's how I see this thing playing out. Probably going to lay some action on it to play out that way, to put my money where my mouth is. But regardless, I think what we're going to get is an absolutely incredible final. And we're going to get some really good hockey. And I'll leave it with this, is I hope to God that, and I'm talking to all Canadians now, that you don't sit there and say, well, I'm going to turn the TV off because a Canadian team's not there. And, sun destinations and desert teams should not have a Stanley Cup team, and especially in the final, and Vegas and Florida. What is that? Guys, it's the NHL. Okay, let's grow up over here. Don't do that to yourselves. We're watching some incredible, incredible hockey. Okay? Let's move on. I'll tell them because Kachuk brought up a point saying this would be the biggest victory of all time, but I can't shoot, I can't shoot all my bullets on the first week when Mitch is gone. I'm going to save that point for next week, okay? Let's move into the NBA, the National Basketball Association. I'm sorry for the dead air. I'm taking a sip, and I'm going to enjoy it. Okay, here we got NBA. You have the Denver Nuggets versus the Miami Heat. Game 1 has already transpired. Denver taking a much anticipated 1-0 lead over the Miami Heat. Of course, Denver with Jokic and Murray and everybody and company finally healthy after all these years in the playoffs, playing together with some additional pieces along the way, fine. But the core, the two-man, the team that Denver has promised its fans for years, finally actually playing together. And the number 1 seed, and just imposing their will through the entire playoffs. With the Lakers, let's touch on that series really quick. Hey, Davis, LeBron, yeah, you guys are big guys. I'm a big guy too. Move over. This is why I'm the current, not this year, but 2-time MVP in the NBA. I'm talking Jokic. Bulldozing their way to the final. Then you got Miami Heat, the play-in team. The team that would argue should never be there in the first place. But true to their name, they caught fire. And not only did they catch fire, they went through and went through and went through and went through and went through. And guess what happens? They meet the Boston Celtics. Boston, at this point, if you're a Boston fan, you're thinking it's prime real estate. They go down 3-0. They tie it 3-3. It's all looking dandy, and we're right there at the finish line, except, they fall short. The Miami Heat, with Butler in charge, leading them to the final. Although, I've said it for weeks, I argue it's Spoelstra who's in charge. That guy is the hottest guy on the Heat. Okay? End of story. Great coaching. He's been keeping them there for a while. Listen, short answer, I think that the Denver Nuggets are destined and primed and equipped to win the NBA championship. I wouldn't be surprised if they sweep Miami, I'll be honest. I'm going to give the gentleman sweep and say 5. I just think the Miami has and will run into this brick wall. I truly believe it's going to be tough. And if I'm wrong, hey, you know what? Fine. Sorry. Sorry I was wrong. But I really believe that. I really believe that. I never saw anyone this year outside of maybe a Phoenix that could challenge the Nuggets to any sort of real competition. And the reason I say the Suns is I'll say like a fully functional Phoenix Suns where everyone's getting along and knowing their role. You know, the Suns kind of reminded me of almost like a first year Lakers group or a first year type of Miami Heat group. You know, where you're just it hasn't quite come together. And anyways, we got our thoughts on that. But I want to bring something up. I hate the play-in format. I'll be very clear about it. I can't stand it. I hate it. I think it's stupid. I will forever think that it's stupid. But I can't help but argue on the other side that if a play-in team is going to come and knock out teams like Milwaukee and Boston and make it to the final and do it in exciting fashion, is there some validity to this play-in the NBA? Is it really that? I mean, I think it's a money grab, obviously, and I just don't like the fact that a team gets 84 games to have a chance to someone who's already seeded 8 when you have 2 conferences. But is it really that close that maybe it's somewhat of a necessity? And, you know, perhaps the proof is in the pudding here today. Maybe you just had those few games and they weren't indicative of the type of team you are. I don't know, but I'm still against it. But I can't help but bring it up here to argue the point. If Mitch was here or someone of a contrarian view were to say, hey, listen, regardless of what you think, like, they're there. You can't take it away from them. They are there. So that's my around the world thing. Okay, I got to move up here because it's time for everyone's favorite segment, potentially. It's Rapid Banter. Okay, here we go. American tennis player Taylor Fritz shushes the crowd after beating local Frenchman at the Roland Garros French Open tennis tournament. Double fault or le mum's the word? Ooh, I don't know. I think double fault. Although tennis has been seeking this type of excitement. Speaking with French, staying on the French train, Benzema is the next player from Real Madrid who's leaving for the Saudi League. Messi's next, or is Real la merde? Come on, I'm just trying to showcase my French. Okay. Triple H honors Roman Reigns with a new belt. Undisputed Universal or Universal Undisputed? How many belts are there now? When do they do it? This is crazy. Oh, yeah, this is a good one. I found this one. Major League Eater James Webb scarfs down 59.5 donuts in 8 minutes. A new world record. Donut challenge him? Or where was the other half of the 59.5? Well, I got to say, it sounds like he's the Boston cream of the crop. The Phoenix Suns are set to hire Frank Vogel for a 5-year contract. Is the sun shining in Phoenix or is the desert dry? I don't know, but at the end of the day, I still think you have a Durant problem. All right. See, this is where I need Mitch. Mitch is, that was okay. It was pretty good. I got some good topics. I can't do my witty banter when it's just myself because, to be honest with you, it's just not as effective. Right? It's tough because I got to read it, then I got to go and it sounds cheesy. I know. If I'm explaining it, that means that's a problem. But Mitch is good. He's the peruser. He loves to peruse the nets. That's what he does. I'm not as big of a peruser of the nets. I'm more of like I peruse the shorts, if you will. But that's where you need a good peruser. So, yeah. Okay, here we go. We are off to MAGA MALAKA. Listen, I told you at the beginning, I got a crazy neighbor who just came out and complained because I'm trying to build a shed. Trying to just increase my space so I could take stuff out of my garage, for crying out loud. Or garage for you UK fans. Nonetheless, okay, I decided that this week's MAGA MALAKA is things that your neighbor should or shouldn't be mad at you for. Okay, here we go. Nice, easy one right over the plate. Noise, MAGA or MALAKA? MAGA, your neighbor should be mad with excessive levels of noise, especially during the weekday. Weekend, there's got to be a little bit of room for a gimme, okay? Leads into the next one, just parties and get-togethers in general. MALAKA, I don't think your neighbor has a right to be mad for that. Hey, it's not my fault that I'm a personable person and people like to hang out with me and I'm a host and you're not. I'm sorry, it's not my fault. So put up with it. This is a good one. Okay. MAGA MALAKA, should your neighbor be mad with fence lines? Only if they're not on the actual property line. That one to me is a little bit offside, I'll admit. Okay. MAGA MALAKA, just landscaping in general. Changing the look. I'm going to say MAGA to this one. I don't think that a neighbor should be mad at you for landscaping or doing things for the yard. But you know where they do have a right? Is if you don't take care of your yard. I mean, I got to be honest with you. I can't stand watching people where it looks like The Walking Dead it's a film set for The Walking Dead, excuse me. Where you walk by, you're like, really? Like you can't clean up the toys? You got tall grass and fescue that's like 4 feet tall. And then everyone else is pristine and taking care of it. To me, that's an insult. I think that there should be a legitimacy to just say, hey, you know what? You're forced to put rocks. You don't want to take care of it? Put rocks. No more grass, no more nothing. Okay? Make it look nice. I agree with that. Kids, MAGA or MALAKA? MALAKA. I don't think that your neighbor has a right to be mad if kids are loud and noisy. It is what it is. Guess what, neighbor? You were one too. And guess what? You were just as annoying. You know how I know that? Because you're 78 years old and you're annoying today when someone's trying to build a shed. I said what I said. Okay, second last one. Parking the cars. MAGA, you know what? I know that you don't have a right. Can't say anything if it's on a public street, but I got to be honest with you. I'm one of those people that gets a little annoyed by that. You're a family of 2. Why do you have 5 cars? And why do you think that you're just a mechanic and then you can open a garage? And why are you parking it, in different places around? I mean, if you're taking up the whole street and you're just one family, I'm sorry, you guys. I'm sorry. That's a ticketable offense to me. A ticketable offense. I think neighbor has a right when you're rudely parking cars in and around. And last but not least, sheds. MALAKA. They have no right to be mad putting up a shed, especially if the shed is blocking your view from the person's yard. Okay? It's not right. I'll see you in court. The People's Court. Dun, 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 dun. No, I'm kidding. This was really fun. This is week 1 of 4 when I'm solo doing the show. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for listening and for joining. As a reminder, this is the Sports Show. Please follow the Instagram channel at Sports Show Podcast, the YouTube channel. We'd love it if you subscribe to the channel, which is the Sports Show TV on YouTube. Again, look for that blue and white logo and see Mitch and I's pretty faces. Episode 262. 1 for the books. Got to shove it in the locker. We do got to hit the showers. I got the Greek show after this where I got special guest, Mitch's sister. I said, hey, if I've been working with second best all week, or all these years, I want the best in the house. Anyways, roster, thank you very much. This was a lot of fun. I don't got too much shower talk. Plus, shower talk that I do on my own, that's for me. That's not for you, that's for me. I want to sing my songs. I want to pretend I'm somebody. It's not for you. It's for me, okay? Do this, I ain't joshing on the ground like Eric Costin. Sit around and grab a drink and talking what you want. Sports Show playing every week. Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, Sports Show TV, at Sports Show Podcast. Amy, do it. At Sports Show Podcast.